Hi, everybody. So I wanted to catch up with our dear friend Sarasota Tim by the fireside, having a little bit of a chat. The reason being is that he left a very interesting comment in his comment section. People are kind of calculating the number of years that Tim has worked. Tim also talks a little bit about what he's going to be doing with the CC Rider, which I believe is the Crushing It for Christ rider. That's what I want to think the CC stood for or stands for. He also is saying he's not really going to be driving the truck as much. But anyway, let's have my fair use out because we know it's Tim and we know he loves the copyright strike my channel for no apparent reason, even though I make transformative content and I give my own opinions and just my opinions only, and they are only alleged. And if you would like to help me get this channel back up, you can always hit the subscribe, hit the likes. It's always very much appreciated. Thank you guys. And obviously I'm going to be giving out some thanks at the end of this video to some of the people in my comment section, because I think I don't get as feisty as Tim, but somebody Tim is out here. I guess I don't know if it's in this video, but it's in his comments that he starts to proclaim that he has been laying tile since he was 5 years old with his stepfather. So he's got this illustrious work history. After he, tells us in this also in the other hand, because Tim, worked so hard, that he literally worked what was the equivalent of 1 day's work a week is most of his life. And I guess he was able, and we have heard that he potentially was always like skipping out of town on rent, allegedly, that there are actual documents, I believe, that he did not pay his child support in California to one of his children, mothers. And that's the sort of thing that kind of happens in Tim's life. But he's out here crushing it for Christ and having his fireside chat. But yeah, he's claiming he's started working from the age of 5 laying tile. And so I have a couple of questions for you, Tim, because I know you watch our content. First, can you lay some tile? Because that would be one heck of a muscle memory if you started learning that from the age of 5. Secondly, what was the going rate at that time? Next, there were probably child labor laws in those days that would have forbidden your stepfather from, having you work. Did you work? Is that one of the reasons why you only wanted to work 8 hours in a week as an adult? Was because you had to work, a full 40 at the age of 5 laying tile? I mean, was it not considered? Was nobody calling CPS? Was there no concerns that this was not proper treatment of a child by your stepfather or your mother? I mean, did you contribute to Social Security at that young age, or was it all under the table? I really need to know more about what was going on with this tile lying at the age of 5. Lying. Anyway, all right, Tim, take it away. I think he's going to explain what he's going to do with his vehicles, and we're not going to watch this whole video. I sped him up to 1.25, but we aren't going to watch this whole video. Let me make me small. Reason being is, we're not listening to Tim talk for nearly 50 minutes. There's no way. Absolutely no way. We're just going to catch up with, I think, the part where he talks about his work, because I want you to see what his comment was, because it's gold. It's absolute gold. And I'm somebody who's worked really long shifts, Tim, 20 hours on the floor. And any nurse knows, and anybody in the healthcare field understands what 20 hours on a floor. And I've had to go back the next day after a few hours sleep. And then the next day again, and maybe had another late night, and done that for extended periods of time. So it's just, I don't think you do yourself any favors, because I understand you weren't raking it in. Don't have any problem. You don't even have a retirement plan, Tim. This is your retirement plan. Take it away, Tim.
So heck of a deal. The truck, I'm not going to cancel it, even though I'm not going to drive it much. I'll just drive it and go wash it about it once a week, just to drive it and keep it started and keep it clean, and take it down there and run it through the big time wash. So today, I was looking at my phone app on the health app on the.
So I think Tim has a, car wash monthly, subscription for both vehicles. So both for the CC Rider and for the Super Crusher. I can't believe he's got names for all these vehicles. Mine's called the Call.
The iPhone, and I had some serious steps that I'm doing every day. I've really been walking a lot because I'm bored, and there's nothing to do in this rain. Can't go to the beach. It's cold. Don't want to be outside. And you can't be outside because it was raining 24 hours a day. So I just walked, and my average.
Well, that's good, because one of the cheapest and least expensive prescriptions I can give to anybody, and just as a healthcare professional or recommendation education, if I just as a nurse, when I get through my MP school, which will be soon, then I can prescribe it. But I always said to my patients at the cardiac rehab, exercise, especially as you get older, it's actually extremely important for keeping you healthy. Find out ways to help manage arthritic pains and so forth, so that you can continue to exercise, because it's going to be the best thing for your health. So Tim, I don't know why you're complaining about having the luxury and the good health to get out there and walk. There's a lot of people who may be experiencing, and I saw today the saddest story, Tim, okay, of a young man, 34 years old. I saw this video on YouTube. He was so stoic and so brave. He's not monetizing his channel. He has terminal glioblastoma cancer and has had this huge surgery with the top surgeon in the field in the country. Somebody who graduated supposedly through medical school at like 19 or something wild, like, or college, and then out of medical school at 25 with like special acceptances because she's so brilliant. And Tim, oh yeah, coughing and always wanting this huge amount of sympathy. And this young man knows he has just a few months to live, and doesn't even want to monetize the channel, just wants to educate people. Maybe it's partly cathartic for him. Tim, you would never have those types of werewolves.
Steps are really good. But today I didn't walk. I went to the gym finally. And like I told you earlier in an earlier video, and I worked out. And now I'm all back on that. I'm so OCD. I'm, on or off on anything in life. Oh, you're like, don't tell us, Tim. We know. I get you.
Okay, Tim. One thing, unless somebody has actually given you that specific diagnosis, it's not something to just laugh about, calling yourself by something that's actually listed in the DSM-5. And I wasn't going to bring out the big book because I didn't want to do that. It used to be under anxiety disorders, but recently, with like the more updated, the revised versions of the DSM-5 and the text revision, it has now moved the OCD, which out of the anxiety disorder section, into a new category. This is from the National Library of Medicine. I have the DSM-5 right here. Just didn't want to have to hold the big book. That's all. Okay. But I just wanted to let these ones out. And into a new category, which is the obsessive compulsive and related disorders, and added 2 new specifiers, specifically a modification of one specifier, insight, and the addition of a new tic specifier. So, we know that often that people with OCDs have tics that accompany along with that. And you may have some tics yourself. So with touching things, so you don't necessarily, I don't know if you're somebody who has to, switch a light off, 5 times before you leave the house. There are people that really, are having to be so clean that I saw one poor chap in the UK when I was younger, came into the laundromat and he was washing, he had one little plastic bag. He washed everything, including the plastic bag. that, and it was his shoes. It was just a few items of shoes and the plastic bag. It all went in the wash. So I don't know if you have any of these. Now, some of the other related disorders into this, and I'll just keep on reading. If you want to know more, obviously, I can link this in the description box below. And so the DSM-5 redefined obsession and recognizes the importance of avoidance and thought stopping beyond compulsions as other strategies to deal with obsessions. OCD related disorders include trichotillomania, which is the one where people pull their hair out, hoarding disorder, which I'm not diagnosing my late grandmother, but she was a notorious hoarder, and we had the enormous house to prove it. And it was known she never could throw any. It was bad. It really was bad. And I think it was triggered by the trauma of my grandfather's death, in my opinion, Grandma. Skin picking disorder and body dysmorphic disorder. So that is all gone. And this, I mean, this has been a while now. This was 2014 that this was published. This is pretty old. But yeah, I just wanted to update on that, just using these types of terms, Tim, unless somebody has actually professionally told you that, I think it's very inappropriate. And I think it's actually very disrespectful for those people who do have to try to really manage these disorders to just use these terms,
I get you. So I will be hitting that gym in the morning. We will have morning chat. Coffee will be brewing. I'll probably have a chat ready when you get up, because I get up at the crack. And we're going to be pretty steady for about a week at least, doing our routine again.
Aren't you so excited, fans of Tim? Aren't you excited? We get morning chat, car washes, drive-throughs, McDonald's, just all the hitting it out the park, because Tim and his audience just relish the mundane. That's what I have decided. They relish the mundane.
And now that we have the inclement weather out of here, and the sun's going to shine tomorrow, and then the temperatures will rise a couple more days yet, and we're going to be back to normal, baby. I remember when I lived in Atlanta, 6 months, 7 months a year, it was freezing.
Atlanta.
I would come down to West Palm Beach and visit friends literally every month, sometimes 2 and 3 times. Here's the story. When I had my advertising business,
I gotta stop you there, Tim. One, that's probably the most truthful thing you'll say in this video is I have a story. And secondly, advertising business, Tim, you went door to door to people's homes to sell oil change coupons, which if anybody is of our generation, I'm Gen X and older, remembers what types of, it was generally young people. It was not, a career. Going door to door to sell these oil change coupons was not a career. But guess what, kids? Back in Tim's time, okay, because he wasn't a problem, you pretty much could live off your wives, in my opinion, and father children, in my opinion, that you did not pay. Well, you were fathering children, but in my opinion, not paying for their, let me clarify there, their health insurance. And I understand when you maybe weren't reaching rent, you skipped town. So this advertising business that you like to try to give so many kudos to all the time in your professional life was door-to-door or oil change coupons. And once your market was saturated also, or you probably irritated enough people, you were kicked out of town. So I just think you need to not be so, I guess, what's the term I'm trying to look for? Compulsively lying about what the actual job was.
You guys know, I've always told you, not bragging, but it was very lucrative. I could make a pocket full of hundreds very quickly and fire myself and
Yeah, but a pocket full of hundreds, Tim, did not equate to any type of property that you were able to take advantage of at a time when the prices were much more affordable. You did not take advantage of investing any money into any types of stocks or investments. And thirdly, I think that's why you appear to be actually quite envious of what others have, because of the fact that you did not do any of these things. You were content in that time because it was a very different America to have just a couple of hundreds in your pocket and not do anything to build any type of real solid foundation to your life, because I think you were quite able and enjoyed the fruits of other people's labors more. I think that's kind of where you sat. And I think in some ways now you try to embellish your past and make it seem a lot more lucrative, as you used, and a couple of hundred. Tim, that's nothing. You know, that's nothing, even in your time. You're not that much older than I am. And that's not very much money. Okay. I'm just telling you, it's not very much money. You have no investments, no property. So it tells me already that you just struck out in your adulthood.
When I lived in Atlanta, I had a couple of Harleys at different times. I didn't have two at once. And I would go off to the mountains, or I'd take a cross country trip, or I would ride down here to Florida and visit friends.
Getting me in a fire. I had a friend who also had a couple of Harleys and a house and an entire business that was like booms for the film industry. And they did and he did the booms out for Mission Impossible when they were filming out in the Chesapeake Bay Bridge tunnel area. He provided all of that. So he had the Harleys in the house, and he went off and did all the Daytona 5, weekends or whatever they do. But you just try to seem like, how's it, Tim? Does it make you sound like you just were just playing all the time? That's what Tim did. Tim played. Tim never adult.
OPHs, other people's houses, and I would kick it with them 2 to 7 days. I mean, I'd come down here and say I was going to leave tomorrow, and then say it again before I'd finally go back to Atlanta. I was only paying $500 a month for a roommate situation for rent in Atlanta. And, like I said, I've been basically...
What was the roommate situation? Was it like the collaboration with Miss Tammy? I just have questions. If you were overstaying your welcome as a guest, because amazingly, you had people to stay with. You never had to pay for a hotel. You never thought that maybe to even take a hotel, even if you're visiting your friends? I think I've said to people before, I used to do that when I visit one of my friends with Christmas, because I want to take the dogs. We just get the hotel at the Ramada. It was right down the street in Kill Hills, and I'd get the room. It was cheap at the holidays. It was like next to nothing, like $80. And that was including probably the dog fee. It was next to nothing. And they had the best coffee. I mean, just try to have some consideration.
Semi-retired for going on about 37 years now, because the side hustle, my full-time job that I had, that I made money at, it was my only job before Social Security. I was self-employed. And
that's why I think I'm not a big fan in like guesting in people's houses, because I'm not like trying to give my friend like extra housework to do, because I already know my friends are like super busy with their kids, their lives, their work. I'm not trying to add to it. That's why it's so much easier for me just to go to a hotel. And like I said, I can use it and take my dog and, whatever. But I guess it's a different generational thing, but I just find it, and I've had friends stay at my place. I love having friends. Don't get me wrong. I love to entertain. This is just how I roll. But I've stayed at plenty of my friends' houses. Don't get me wrong. If they offer, I will stay. But if it's easier, I will go to a hotel.
I only work, 6-8 hours a week.
What?
Seriously. And I could have made...
you coughed afterwards, so I don't know. Is that less than 6 or 8 hours a week? Tim, that's not even a full day's work. You have the audacity to talk about people going to their prison jobs, or you get Social Security early, you said. And you really try to like look down and have the audacity to look down on people like probably like myself, who've had 20 hour shifts as an RN. And that wasn't uncommon with one facility I worked at because I had so many patients and so much Medicare paperwork to do. It was insane. I mean, it was absolutely wild how much paperwork I had to do. And I mean, there were times like when I was charged and having to do things and just I was the only person next to somebody else who could start a central line port in this hospital, a big hospital too. And finally, by the time I got through everything and done, finally got that line started about 2 a.m. and was out. And I had started at 6:30 in the morning, Tim. This was a regular occurrence when I went to the floor, which is part of the reason why I've tried to slow down as I've gotten a little bit older, my type of nursing work. And it's actually worked out very well for me recently. But you to be sitting here and talking about your 6 a.m., it makes me feel so just like just so baffled by anybody who would ever want to listen to anything from a person who this person. You always talk about problem with young people today. Tim, you were a problem. You were a non-contributing member of society. Oh, just a play. Oh my gosh. The women who took this man on, why?
A lot more money than I did. But because I was a minimalist and didn't have a high overhead, money wasn't, when I was younger, of course, I had that burning desire to.
No, Tim, you weren't a minimalist. You were just the laziest, I have a feeling, more. Because ever since you've been actually able to access money pretty easily with this YouTube gig, just setting up a video and sitting there in a campfire in your little camp chair, hoping people will send you a buy me a coffee or some gifts or whatever, that you have actually worked probably harder in your life than you worked since you were laying tile at 5 years old. I mean, this is you've nothing to show for that time, which makes me think that you weren't really making anything, but you were happy with that. Maybe it meant that you didn't have to really make any contributions, because you didn't have anything much to contribute. Didn't even have health insurance for his kids. What a great dad. Happy, this is Tim. What a stalwart member of the, male class down there in Florida, not paying his child support in probably different states.
To amass wealth. And I made some money and I saved some money. But later in life, after I got out of the car business where I had to be there, bell to bell, we used to call it, morning till night, I had no life. I swore if I could ever get out of that business, I wouldn't work like that again. And when I was so blessed to, how I got into my business, by the way, was I was sitting at home one time in Boynton Beach, Florida. I was married.
Okay, so how long were you supposed to? There's doubt as to whether or not, Tim, the way you handled the situation with your Colleen and just seemingly unfamiliar with anything about where to look up your lien, your title, or anything, makes me wonder if you were ever in the car sales business and more in the car detail business, because you seem to know a lot about car detailing, which is something that you did a lot of videos on. Usually people who have been in the car sales game, if they were doing YouTube videos, they would probably be doing videos about tricks that salespeople use in the car business in order for people, to buy cars from them. Like, what are the tricks of the sales business? Those were never your videos in the past, Tim. Your videos in the past, and I've shown this on some of my videos, and I've gone back and showed your old videos, are things about car detailing, not car sales. Detailing. So that leads me to think that your expertise laid in car detailing. Why, as a salesperson, would you be detailing? And you maybe had to be there a long day. And I don't think you worked there that many years, Tim. I mean, there's a lot of physicians who've worked 80-hour weeks and have done it for years, and they would never bitch and moan the way you do.
And some door knockers came soliciting, selling a program for automotive services at a neighborhood place to get you acquainted. And it was like dirt cheap for all these services and a few free oil changes too. It was like,
oh yeah, all these services. Oh, here we go. You've got to admit, Tim, it was the oil change coupon book. We all know what it was. They used to have ones for pizza and restaurants. They were all the rage back in the day before people had phones and get coupons and apps and all that stuff and those types of loyalty programs. Or then they finally got the little plastic things. You had people like, Tim was Tim, you're the only person in the world who I know would see those folks coming to the door and get recruited in.
Amazing, an amazing deal. And the only thing that was kind of a con about it was, and it wasn't really a con, is you thought it was a scam. You couldn't believe it.
Can you not use con, and scam so close together, Tim?
You're going to do that? It's kind of like this car wash deal I got. I can't believe it. $5 for that wash for the whole month. $27 washes, the one I'm getting. Anyway, so they came around knocking on the doors, and I was in the car business, and I said, no, I don't want to buy one of these. I want to sell these. And it happened to be the guy that was running the show was the guy knocking on my door. It wasn't one of the salesmen. He later told me that it was the best sale he ever missed because I became their top salesman. He says, are you serious? I go, yeah, I'm in the car business. I've been wanting to get out of it for a couple of years. It's just feast or famine. You sell some cars one month, you don't sell any the next month. It's just, you're there all the time. And he says, well, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll come by tomorrow. We'll pick you up.
Like I said, Tim, your videos were never about the tricks that car salespeople use to get people to buy the cars, because that probably actually would have been very popular. No, you went hardcore into the detailing. I'm just saying.
And you just walk around with one of my other guys and listen to what he says, the little sales pitch, what we're doing here, promoting ABC Auto Repair here in town. And he had contracts with several auto centers around the West Palm Beach area, 5-6 miles apart, not on the same block. Wouldn't make any sense. So that way we would solicit business over here, and then we could go down to the neighboring city or town and solicit business for this guy. And by revolving around like that, we were able to sell all of these we wanted.
I just love listening to Tim trying to dress up, going door to door selling oil change coupon books. Like he was this marketing guru. I almost feel that people bought the books to get rid of him from their doors, and that's why he was such a good salesperson. They're like, if I just buy the book, he'll go away.
And not inundate,
in my opinion,
the auto center with too many people wanting these free services. And anyway, I got picked up the next day, and I walked around with a guy for about 15 minutes. And I said, give me them things. I can sell them better than you can. And of course, I was stumbling over my words. I was trying to remember what he said. It was kind of a canned pitch that you give, kind of a steps that you start out, and, when they open the door and what you say and everything. And I had it in my mind, but I couldn't get it out in my words. So I stumbled, and then I let the guy train me some more. But then in short order, I got it down.
Oh, you could just see Tim. Yeah, I got this after 15 minutes. So then it's like, gosh, that's why Tim would never have the fortitude to go through years of schooling. He would never have I don't know, Tim, if you have obsessive compulsive disorder, and I certainly don't treat or diagnose, but maybe there's other potential underlying disorders with attention and deficits that may be potential. I am just like saying, and I'm not treating or diagnosing. And yes, there is adult versions of these. So, and they can manifest in different ways with adults. But was he a hyperactive child, or did he have anything? And obviously in those days, maybe Tim was not. I'm just hypothesizing, but some of the things that he's saying, make me wonder, because he's, but he's stuck with that for a while. So maybe not. He's stuck with that for a while, but he didn't really want to work that much. So I don't know. Maybe it worked in his favor. He didn't have a boss or anything. It was just Tim. I think it was ideal for him. I think that was perfect for somebody. He wasn't going to have to be beholden to anybody else's schedule. And it allowed Tim to be free to be Tim. I think that's what worked best for Tim.
And like I say, I was off and running. And I believed in those things so hard because it's like this car wash deal. Who couldn't sell a $5 car wash that you can come all you want a day and a month for $5 and get their top of the line car wash? Now, who couldn't sell that? Well, that's basically what I was selling. I was selling $400 worth of automotive services, valid for a year, a whole year, for a neighborhood center where the people lived that I was knocking on doors. It wasn't like they had to drive very far. And it was just a straight offer to get them acquainted, to get them to come in hopes, of course, they would have other repairs done to their car or come back and have them done and refer people and become lifelong customers, all of it. And I believed in it, and I knew the philosophy of it. And I said, I sold them to everybody.
Tim, you sold oil change coupons door to door. You were a door to door salesman. Just to say it like it was. Don't say marketing, promotion, all this stuff, advertising. You were a door to door salesman for oil change coupons. That's what it was. You worked 6 to 7 hours a week. I mean, did as little work as possible from the sounds of things. So I'm so glad you really believed in it. Sound like you were saving the lives of cars, ensuring that they were all well lubricated.
Everybody I talked to, I closed. I had the highest closing ratio of anybody's ever seen. He said, in all the years I've been doing this, I haven't seen two like it. Look at this wind. Come on. Give me a break. I wonder if I put that
Watch
table
Tim's fan leg
sideways.
catch on fire. Are you finished with your story, Tim?
Made a pocket full of money working for him. I think I did it, 2 years. And then after 2 years, I look at that, the door's trying to close. That's how strong the wind is. I said to myself, just do this on your own, just copy the idea. I mean, there's already other people doing it around the country. It wasn't anything unique. So I did. And to keep from directly competing against him, I left Florida and went to another state and got myself a contract with an auto center, and the rest is history. 33 years of being a door-to-door salesman. But like I said, now instead of getting a commission for selling these.
So he wasn't getting any PTO. He wasn't getting, obviously, any pension. It was, and Tim didn't provide for any of that either for himself. He didn't get a house from it. He got his pocket money to play with. Sounds like. Which, that's fine. But I'm trying to dress it up more than what it was.
Little programs, these little contracts. I got the whole thing because I was the owner. And so I attempted to get some salesmen too, like when he hired me, and he had 2 or 3 other guys doing it, and they weren't very good at it. And I found the same thing when I hired.
Still trying to figure out how this business would have been able to have equaled $88,000 in taxpayer-funded EIDL and PPP loans when you had already been unemployed for a significant amount of time and this business never restarted. So how was it that you got yourself so much money? Was that just your compensation for the loss of your, little business, Tim? I mean, that's just, do other businesses, did you get, did that happen for you? Because I think that was a lot of money, Tim, for that business. I'm trying to figure out how you were getting such a large amount.
People, they were terrible. They'd start here at the beginning of the block, and they go all the way down the end of the street and sell nobody or one. And I'm thinking, man, you just wasted that area. I could have went down the same street and sold 10. So they were costing me money. So I just, I had this idea that if I had salespeople, because that's what he did, that I could make a lot of money by, branching out, building a pyramid, if you will, where I had people underneath me giving them a commission, and I keep the other half. And, this whole thing, like any other business.
Sounds like a scam.
But, not everybody can do door to door. Not everybody had the gumption, the ambition, the fortitude, the character, the speak. And
nobody likes people knocking on their doors selling things like this. It's a lot of people have signs saying no solicitation, which means something very different here in the US than it does in the UK.
And the motivation to get up every day and go out there and want to, make themselves some coin. And I did. And so I did it for 33 years, all by myself. I had an office. I bought office furniture when I was going to hire salespeople. And like I said, they would come in. They were these very weak salespeople that had
bought an office. You bought an office, but not a house? You mean you rented some office space? Most people have to be in business for an established amount of time to be purchasing office space, Tim.
tried something with somebody else
Google over here.
and didn't make it, and they want to come help put you out of business. So I just said, nah, closed that little office I had, started working right out of my house. And that way I didn't have to babysit anybody. And if I didn't want to go to work that day and wanted to take off on my Harley or Gold Wing, whatever one I had at the time, I've had a few motorcycles, I would just take off and just start selling when I got back. Because you see, the auto centers, they were just taking care of the customers that came in with the program. I had nothing else to do with them. Once they bought the program from me, they would then
Sounds like you were a great dad, Tim.
go to this business, and
in my opinion,
it was between them. All I did was put the two together. And so it was really a win-win-win, because I made my money. Customers certainly got a value for their small amount of money and all these services. And then the shop had all these people that they sold lots of auto services to and got lots of referrals from these customers, from their colleagues at work and their family members and stuff, because I only contracted with auto centers that were very reputable and were medium sized, not a one-man, business that couldn't take care of it. And I didn't do any chains like Firestone.
Well, of course not, because the business had to be able to absorb, however many free car washes or whatever were thrown in. So, I mean, you said, or oil changes, something was thrown in there free. You said 3 free oil changes. That used to be a different type of oil than it was now. It wasn't synthetic. It would have been just some sort of, old school, low grade car oil. You would have to change much more frequently. That's why they could hawk these like change books all the time. Tim, it's great. It's what you saving lives, Tim, saving lives. They're saving one car at a time.
Goodyear and that kind of thing. It was always a mom and pop where they had 2 to 4 bays and 2 to 4 mechanics or more, and they can handle the work. How did we get on the subject? Anyway, that's what I did. And that's how I've been basically semi-retired since I got out of the car business. After doing 17 years in the car business, I did 33 years. Let's see, how old was I? Got into
17 and 33. That's 40 years we've got right there. And Tim says he retired or was out of work at 61 with COVID. So that takes him to 21. But he likes to say he went into the car industry earlier. So somehow already, Tim, your math not working.
This business, I think it was 90 or 92.
99.
And so it's 24. I'm 66. How old was I in 90? I'll be 67 at the end of the year. I just turned 66. So in 90, this is 25. Oh God, I can't do math. In 90, how was I in 1990, everybody? Tell me. Well, that's when I got out of the car business. And
all right, everybody, let's help Tim struggle through his math. So Tim is 66. 1990, Tim. It's now 2025. Let's make it. It's nice, easy numbers. That's 35 years ago, Tim. Okay. 6 minus 5 is 1, and 6 minus 3 is 3. That makes you 31, Tim. That would have made you 31 years old. You're welcome.
Not too long after that, I also became a single man and have been that ever since.
Oh, at 31? That was pretty young, Tim.
Just been doing my own thing. And if it wasn't for that...
How did you have 3 Mrs. Bakers before the age of 31, Tim? Probably why there wasn't a 4th Mrs. Baker. That was 3 red flags too many.
Thing called a pandemic that sent me home that day and said, No more belly to belly selling. No more knocking on doors. No more, getting within 6 feet of somebody. Thank you, Dr. Fauci. I would have never stopped doing what I was doing. But God had a plan for me.
Well, Tim, how would you have gotten all that EIDL and PPP loan and all that unemployment that you took and everything else that you got off the American taxpayer? How would you, after you probably paid so much tax, how much of that oil change stuff was under the table? How much did you actually? I would, he's saying he's sold 10 a day or something. I wonder what they were selling them for. How much went to the tax man and how much went under the table, Tim? That sounds like a business that you could get, some of those potentially under the table. I wonder how that worked. I don't know. So I don't think Tim's always on the up and up. Finish it out, Tim.
And I didn't know what I was going to do when the country got shut down. I didn't work for somebody. I wasn't qualified for all these different severance pay or paid leave or even unemployment because I was self-employed. But the country did extend unemployment to self-employed people. Remember that? And so I did collect that.
Listen to Tim trying to sit here looking all like, look at me, all humble. I'm such a good man. I just did everything so right. Tim, you were drinking, smoking weed, and having the best time of your life out there. And then you just, this is just a persona, in my opinion.
And that was a stepping stone. A few things that fell into place for me that I qualified for as a business. And then we went through a year of that.
No, I don't think you qualified for almost $88,000 of PPP and the IDL loan after you took unemployment, having a door-to-door business hawking coupon books for oil changes, Tim.
And then I became 62 and
riddle me that
got Social Security. And the rest is history. Now, isn't that interesting?
Yes. No, it wasn't. But the grift that you have, Tim, is always fascinating. You could get long hair. Look, I was supposed to be quick, and this video is over 40 minutes, Tim. What are you doing to my channel? Anyway, I wanted to show this one comment that this gentleman left. And he's probably somebody who follows Tim. Who knows? But he got 68 likes. And Tim, Dennis says, Tim, great story. So you work 17 plus 33, 50 years until COVID hit years ago when you were 61. Okay. So he's worked out. Oh, yes, he's right there. That's right. So he would have 50 years. That would have put him at 11. You were 11 when you started working between the core business. Okay. Because remember, Tim said it was 17 on the core business. So thank you, Dennis. I'm glad I looked at you because now my math terrible. I'm getting tired. That's why I've had a long day. I've actually worked already my 8 hours for just the day, and then I made this video. So yes, he's right. 11. That makes more sense. Thank you. But the other math I did at 31 is correct. So 11. So remember, he said it was the core business, selling cores at 11. Then he said, what is this? Some kind of gotcha you're trying to do in the comments? He always has this type of spelling anyway. I started working when I was 5. This is where I got the setting tile. Sorry, I said laying. Setting tile with my stepfather. Then I had a paper route at 12 years old, delivering papers to approximately 75 homes that I personally knocked on doors and got them to subscribe to having a newspaper delivered. Sounds like Tim was just hustling. Just a hustler. Let's read more. Oh, for goodness, Tim. At 14 years old, I was a door-to-door salesman selling Fuller brush to housewives. Nothing but a few sample sprays and brushes with an order book and a catalog. At 16 years old, I was married and began my career in the automobile business as a successful car salesman. Shortly after, so maybe he means he started at 17 in the car business rather than being 17 years. Who knows with him? Shortly after Being in the car business, I ventured again into door-to-door sales again, working with military in San Diego, selling a photography program. That was an in-home 1-hour presentation. Oh gosh, this sounds just terrible. I have attended several sales seminars. This gets better. And training classes from, this is just the red pill room from 1980. Zig Ziglar, Dale Carnegie, including courses with Tony Robbins, who resided in that's nothing to brag about, Tim, who resided in San Diego, where I sold cars for half the time I was in the business. Then around 91 or 92, I started selling door to door once again as a marketing and advertising entrepreneur until you sold oil change coupons, Tim. Stop dressing up. Until the pandemic in March 2020. In 2017, I started and grew a successful YouTube channel that continues to grow presently with purchased subs, in my opinion. So I've worked for 61 years. How about you? Well, Tim, if that's how you look at it, then I started working probably at about the age of 6 or 7, because as a dog groomer and dog walker, because my aunt used to have me groom her Afghan hound and I would walk them and she'd pay me some money for it. And then I also had a paper route and a lawn mowing business and a babysitting business, all by the time I was 12. And by the time I was 16, Tim, I was working at a local supermarket. I mean, I'm not going to go through the rest. I've worked at factories. I've obviously worked as a teacher and as a educator for the Pearson Group, working and educating teachers how to use their textbooks and travel. I mean, Tim, I could go on forever too. None of this is impressive. Any of these courses, not impressive. None of that. None of that. That just says you learned how to scam people, in my opinion. I'm sorry. I have no respect for any of those characters. I just don't. All right. Let's look at how Tim's channel's going. And I got to get out of here because this video is getting long and nobody's going to watch a 50-minute video, Tim. All right. Let's see what Tim up to. Let's refresh and see how his views are doing because it's been a while. Oh, because that was there. Let's see. Okay, Tim. So today from Tim, we got a morning chat, having the best cup of coffee I ever drank in my life. He's back in the RV. So he wants to prove everybody who said, why aren't we seeing the RV? He was now showing it. 2.3 thousand views on that 12 hours ago, Tim. That's terrible. I almost have as many views on some of my videos. And I'm a tiny channel, Tim. This one, it's the Crushing It for Christ. You're going to have trials. 719 views, Tim, in 11 hours. Have you not understood this? This is a channel killer for you. An absolute channel killer. But you're going to put it out anyway because you want people, you know, this is what sometimes these folks do. We have the Sud Stop car wash because I guess Tim wants to sell car wash coupons now for the $5 monthly deal. 856,000 views, Tim. Nobody is into this content. Here, a 17-minute video about a super duper FX 24. Nobody wants to watch that either, Tim. And then this one, Tim, 2 hours ago. And I refreshed the tab, okay? You saw me. I refreshed the tab. I don't even... Just Tim. I guess we're going in this direction politically. I mean, if you want to red pill your channel, Tim, that's your choice. It's your channel, okay? But and I don't know. I'm always here for the party, but I didn't want to listen to this one. It's USAUA, Trump baby. The golden age has begun. So that's what, and not many people have wanted to click in. I can't believe it's because his audience is, you know, having that fun of a Friday night. And I'm not going to check his comment section, but we are going to check some of my latest comments because I would like to thank some of my subscribers who have been supporting me lately. And I want to wrap this video up because I have been talking for almost 15 minutes. That's way too long. So some of the top comments today. Tim once again said he worked for 50 years, but retired during the pandemic 5 years ago when he was 61. My math said he started working when he was 11. Yes, it's 11. but he started at 5. Remember, setting tile. I want to thank Truth Be Told for their very generous donation. Super thanks for taking myself out to dinner, following obviously the channel strikes, and Miss Lee too, because Miss Lee gave me a super. So thank you guys for that. I really appreciate it. All right, what are some of the other top comments? This one coming from Chuck. I think the main issue is that he's sitting in his vehicle in a public parking lot, flashing the pew pew. What if there were kids around his car? Completely irresponsible, flathead. And a lot of people are obviously people that carry responsibly their firearms. And then positively, Pam, we just have to give this one out because this gave me a little bit of a chuckle. He doesn't work out. He uses the gym to shower and poop emoji. Thank you, positively, Pam. That was funny. All right, guys, this got much longer than I wanted, but happy Friday night. Tim is, out there, reselling history again. So what's new, But he's dressing up that door-to-door salesman job. Tim, everybody understands. I don't know why you're trying. Who are you trying to explain this to? We all know what that means. All right, guys. If you did like this type of comment, leave me a like, leave me a comment, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye.